You all are in for a treat today. I have a top producing real estate broker coming on as a guest, where we are going to be talking about her stint in real estate, how she got in, what she did to climb on top. But at some point in the episode, we're going to pivot because, like most of us, her career doesn't define her. She's a wife, she's a mom, she's a sister, she's a daughter, and she's a sports mom with a really cool story that I want her to share with us. Check this out. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children 18 plus, you are tuned in to the Loan Officer Podcast with me, Dustin Owen, and a very special guest. She is one of the rare OGs, born and raised Orlando, Florida. She didn't have to travel more than 5 miles to get to the studio today. She once worked at the most magical place on earth until COVID got in the way. She pivoted into real estate, which allowed her to open her own brokerage, while also being a badass wife, mother, and now sports mom, not just to her 2 kids, but a sports mom of all the sports moms. She is my friend, Yaritza Shishayan. Yaritza, welcome to T-Lop.
Hey, thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah, so this is going to be super fun. And everyone that is watching this on YouTube, you're going to have to look down at the CGI, look down at the graphics for proper spelling of both Yaritza and Shishayan.
Yes, you do.
Yes, and if you're on Apple or Spotify, best of luck to you
Good
trying
luck.
to figure that one out.
Yeah.
But I've had the pleasure of knowing Yaritza for the past 10 years because you married a loan officer who came to work for me.
I did.
And we've been friends with you and Patrick now for over a decade. And
Yeah.
I always say I knew you back before real estate.
Yeah.
But today's episode, here's what I'm hoping to jump into.
Yeah.
You have an amazing story, right? From your childhood to your time at UCF to your time working for the Mouse here in Orlando.
Yeah.
How you got into real estate, I think is such a cool story.
Yeah.
And if you're okay with it, like you shared with me in the green room, what it meant when you're a career professional going into motherhood and in a sense losing your identity, then having to refine it.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people that are tuning in that can empathize or sympathize with that. And then you have your own podcast.
I do.
So you have your own podcast. What's the name of your podcast?
The Sports Mom Playbook.
The Sports Mom Playbook.
Yeah.
So, hey, for my moms and dads out there that have kids in travel sports, okay, we have a treat for you. Sure, we're going to talk about Yaritza's amazing journey, her 2 different careers, once working for the Magic Kingdom, one working in real estate. Loan officers, don't worry. I'm going to pepper her. I'm going to try to get Yaritza to share with us, like, hey, what's one thing that lenders do that annoy you? She's probably going to be like, communication.
Yeah.
But even if someone's looking for a career in real estate, what are some of the things that you would wish you knew before you got started? And then better yet, what are some things that lenders do really well that you can share with our audience? But for those sports moms and the sports dads, I want to get into like someone who's an expert in the field, who has her own show, her own following, her own boutique. I want to end the show with that. And that's also because, Yaritza, you know a little bit about this, but the rest of the audience doesn't. We're going to be dropping episode 1 of the DO show, where I'm going to be talking about a guaranteed way to have your college paid for, maybe or maybe not through travel sports. That's what they'll have to tune into.
Okay.
But I have the hack of all hacks.
Love it.
I know exactly how to do this, y'all.
Yeah.
And for those parents who have their kids in travel sports, I have a way to guarantee your kid having college paid for. And I'm going to correlate it to travel sports. So that's why I think it'd be awesome to end that, or in today's episode with that subject of what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
So then it'll transition nicely into Monday's show.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
So let's start with this.
Yeah.
You didn't always grow up wanting to be a realtor.
No,
Nope.
I did not. No.
You went to high school here in Central Florida.
Yes, I sure
Went
did.
to UCF.
Yeah.
Go Knights.
Go Knights.
There we go. Charge on.
Yeah.
But growing up, what did you want for yourself when it came to your career?
That's a beautiful question. So my vision that I had was to be an event planner for Disney. I wanted to do special events, and that's something I went to UCF for and I studied, and I absolutely loved it.
Were you part of the Rosen Hospitality School?
I did, yeah.
Ah, my daughter's looking at that school right now. It's one of the top 3 schools in the country.
It's amazing. It was a great experience.
So you knew as a kid that you wanted not just a job in events, but for Disney.
For Disney.
Okay.
I've always wanted to work for Disney.
Wow. How long did you work for Disney?
For 10 years.
Okay, so you got a whole entire decade.
I did, yeah.
All right. Where did you start and where did you finish in your career at Disney?
Yeah, so I actually started with the college program at Disney. I was a concierge at the front desk, and then I worked my way up to the professional management program that they had, and I was an intern there as a front desk manager. Worked my way through that avenue, went into the group management role. So I was actually in charge of all of the groups that were coming into the hotels. So kind of like where they would come in for special events, summer programs, stuff like that. And then I had the opportunity to go to ESPN, the Wild World of Sports, and I was one of the guest service managers there, managing all of the operation side of all of those sports events. And that's when I found out I was having my daughter. So I had to demote myself just because the schedule was way too insane for me.
Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So imagine this for the audience, driving down the road right now and they're tuning in, they're getting to know you, they're probably already mad at me for talking too much. And you grew up knowing exactly what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
You went to the right school, you got the right degree, you did the right internships, you land your dream job.
Yeah.
Right? This is the Magic Kingdom. This is Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
This is like why people know Orlando exists.
Yeah.
You grew up and it was like probably the happiest place on earth.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up and I was like, oh my God, all that traffic, all those people. How do I stay away from that part of town?
I love it.
And then after 10 years, you leave.
Yeah.
But before you left, you entered into motherhood.
I did.
Right? You and Patrick decided to start a family.
Yeah.
Your daughter was born.
Yeah.
Pivotal moment for you?
100%.
What-
It was a life-changing moment for me.
What stood out, especially as it pertains to your career,
Yeah.
which you had been planning since like middle school?
Yeah, for sure. So when I was at ESPN, I was literally a couple months away from I remember meeting with the convention service manager, who was the gentleman that would have been my boss to do special events at Disney. I remember meeting with him, and he was very specific. Like, I think you need to take this opportunity to work at the sports level of events at Disney, at ESPN, and then next step would be convention services, which is what my goal was, and doing special park events over at Disney.
Okay, so like that's like crazy hours, or
It was
is
just,
that?
yeah, crazy hours. I mean, you would be working midnight because, some of the special events, the parks are shut down. So you're either before the park opens or after the park closes. So I knew I was going to be working crazy hours. So I was that close to my dream job. And then I found out I was expecting a little one.
Wow. So let me ask you, so if the Jacksonville Jaguars
Yeah.
win the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
okay, and Trevor Lawrence is like, Trevor, you just won the Super Bowl. What are you going to do next? He says, I'm going to Disney World.
Yeah.
So the entire team, I'm manifesting, by the way, the Jags are going to win the Super Bowl. The Jags come down. Would that role have been like you would have been in charge of potentially making sure the Jaguars players and their families had access to the park after hours? They were doing some celebratory parades. Like, you would have been a part of that?
Yeah, that is one segment of the goal that I was trying to reach, for sure. Yeah.
And you were right there.
I was very close.
You're very close, but you got pregnant with your daughter.
Yeah.
Then walk us through. Is that what pushed you into real estate, or?
No, that's
Okay.
not what pushed me into real estate. What pushed me into real estate is that my husband actually started as a realtor when we first met you.
That's how I met him.
Yeah.
I met him when he was a realtor.
Yes, he was a realtor. But he decided not to do real estate. Then he was a loan officer. And he's like, if you want to buy a new house, you need to get your license.
Okay, that's where you're going. Let's hit pause for a
Okay.
second. That's a fun story.
Okay.
Okay, but I do want to put, I want to go back and find that detail.
Yeah.
Because you went through something like I can't go through. Right? I guess I could.
Oh, you mean-
But like I can't get pregnant.
Yeah.
Okay, and I can't give birth to a child.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm fortunate as a 47-year-old male, or 46, however old I am.
Mm-hmm.
My next birthday, maybe I turn 47. I've never had to have that choice of family or career.
Yeah.
Right? I was fortunate that my situation allowed my career to be the one and the most important career.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a lot of friends of mine that are badasses in the mortgage industry,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they know who they are, right? Whether it's Lucy, whether it's Molly, Shayla, you go down the list, right?
Yeah.
Allison, shout out. And they've had to figure out, how do I do both?
Mm-hmm.
How do I dominate my career that I grew up my whole childhood, wanting to dress a certain way, wanting to present a certain way, to motherhood comes over and it's like, oh, wow. So you told me off record, it was a little, not off record, but like offline before the cameras were on.
For sure.
That a bit of an identity crisis.
Yeah, 100%.
What does that mean when you say identity crisis? What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So for me, I've always been a really driven person by success. Since I'm, the Enneagram, I'm a 3 with the wing of a 2. Are you familiar with the Enneagram?
I'm not. I'm going to look that one up.
Dustin Dio. Yes, you got to look it up. Anyways, there's a quiz that really kind of talks about your personality. And I'm a 3 with a wing of a 2, which is basically you find your confidence in success. So for me, it was all about my career. What was I going to do from a business perspective to take myself to the next level? When I became a mom, that completely shifted, and I don't think I was prepared for that shift. I take the badge of a mom with big pride, love being a mama. I'm a mom of 2. But for me, when I first had my daughter, it was very challenging for me because I felt like I lost myself.
Wow. And you're not the only one. And you know that, right?
No,
That's
it's
very...
something that, not a lot of people talk about.
Yeah.
Because, who wants to say, you feel like you lost yourself? But that's how I felt almost 10 years ago.
So 10 years ago, you missed the career-focused, I'm wearing my power suit, I'm getting shit done.
Yeah.
But you inherited this new role.
Yeah.
Right? You evolved in this new role. Mm-hmm. And did you feel like you had to choose one or the other?
Yes, I did. Yeah, because I knew that it wouldn't be sustainable for me to continue trying to pursue my dream career, doing events in general, just because I knew that was such a time-consuming thing. I couldn't be present in that career and also be present as a mom.
Okay, so then you optioned to demote yourself because you were a manager.
I was a manager. I was rocking it.
You were rocking it. You were still at Disney.
Yep.
So you didn't leave Disney. You just found a role that was more conducive to being able to do both.
Correct.
Like you still want to be a very involved, hands-on mom.
Correct.
While also being able to sustain your career, but that passion or that desire to get into events, that is what had to go on the back burner.
Correct.
Yeah, because that would have had you at work till midnight.
Oh, yeah.
Or at the park on the weekends because there was something super special going on.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so then you fast forward.
Yeah.
Then you got into real estate.
I did.
And you didn't jump in all in, right?
I didn't. No, I was a part-time agent. I was one of those part-time agents for a while, actually.
And but why did you get your license? This is what you were telling us earlier.
Yes.
This is the funny story.
The way that I got my license was my husband was like, if you want to get a new house, you have to get your license. And I was like, okay, watch me. So I sure did. I signed up and I took an in-person class. I believe I wasn't on maternity leave, but I had just had my daughter. She was about 7 months old. And I studied and studied and studied, and I failed 3 times taking the exam, not going to lie. It took me a while just because I was balancing all the things, working full time as a new mom and then trying to study for my license. And then I got my license. We bought our first house, and that's how my real estate career started.
Yeah. And by the way, Yaritza crushes it. Your brokerage this year will do what, about 40 transactions?
Yeah. Maybe that plus or some.
Yeah, plus or some. Go back a couple of years, you're probably doing 60 transactions?
Yeah.
And I actually referred her to my parents. She sold my parents' condo, and they still ask about you. Literally, they ask about you.
I love them so much. They're so sweet.
And my dad's not easy to please.
No, he's not.
Anyone who thinks I'm particular, look, it's genetic.
Yeah.
Right? That I didn't ask to be this way.
I knew it when I first met him. I was like, I'm gonna like him. He's so organized and he's
extremely organized. My sister and I call him anal.
I love him though. He's wonderful.
He is. I have to remind my wife all the time when she's like, I love your dad. Why can't you be more like him? I'm like, I'm exactly like him. I go, but you're in love with the 74-year-old version. You're right now married to the 47-year-old version.
Exactly. I'll get there.
I'm like, give me time. I'll get there.
Give me 30 years. I'll be there.
Yes, but no, you absolutely crushed it. But you started part-time.
I did.
You failed. I never knew you failed your exam 3 times.
It took me 3 times.
It makes sense when it's not your top priority.
Correct.
Your one thing wasn't your one thing. Your one thing was Ari. Your one thing was Disney.
Yeah.
Right. Your one thing couldn't be also
all the things.
Real estate. And you only did it because your husband is a little bit frugal. And
yes.
A little bit.
And
he's like, if you want another house, then you got to get your real estate license. He wanted to save that $12,000 in real estate commission.
Yeah.
Very cool. So then life threw another curveball at you, and life threw all of us a curveball. Mm-hmm. You actually lost your job at Disney.
I did. I got laid off. So at the time, they eliminated my position. So I was kind of stuck. Obviously I was working from home at the time, and I got the call, like, I'm so sorry, but you're being laid off.
Yeah, this was COVID, right?
This was COVID. This was 2020.
Yeah, so it's 2020. COVID's in full swing.
Yeah.
Obviously, Disney's the number one tourist attraction in the world, and people aren't necessarily traveling, getting on airplanes, staying in hotels, and then spending money to go to theme parks.
Yeah.
At which point, all companies had to make adjustments, and you were part of that adjustment.
I was, unfortunately, but I feel like it was a blessing in disguise because I think it opened doors for me that I didn't think that I was capable of achieving.
So when that happened, did you say, all right, then I'm going all in on real estate, or did you try to do something outside of real estate?
I went all in on real estate.
You went all in?
I went all in. I told my husband, I was like, I'm going to try to do this full time. And he was like, let's do it.
Yep. So then what did that look like? Because I like your approach, because once you decided you were going to do something, I'm guessing it was pretty methodical.
It was.
And looking back, if you had someone who's tuning in, whether they're getting ready to start their own insurance agency, they're a loan officer who's getting ready to go all in on becoming a loan officer, or maybe even they're thinking about going all in on real estate. What are 3 things that you did when COVID happened, the magical place on earth lays you off, you now go all in on real estate, now you're being intentional. What are 3 things that you did that looking back, you're grateful you did?
That's a great question. I feel like the 3 things would be consistency. I needed to be consistent. I needed to be able to continue growing, even though I felt like I was like lost. I just was like, I'm going to try to figure this out. And that's one thing, is just being consistent with trying to learn new things. Second thing is be patient, because you're going to fail. There are going to be troubled times, and you're going to feel like, did I do good enough? Is this not where I need to be? You're going to question yourself, but just being patient. And the third thing I would say is believe in yourself, because I feel like if you don't, that's so much harder to push through the hard times if you don't believe in yourself.
I agree 100%. Even if you have to look in the mirror and be like, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me.
Exactly.
Say that 3 times over and then go do what you want to do.
Yeah.
So for me, your consistency is in the effort.
Yes.
Right? Your consistency is although you're inexperienced.
Yes.
You still got up every day, you put on your uniform, you went to work.
Yeah.
And going to work was following the advice of experts, because you worked for a broker.
Yeah.
That broker probably told you these are what you need to do in order to be successful. You're like, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
COVID threw you a softball in terms of, hey, there was a lot of buyers looking for property.
Yeah.
COVID threw you a curveball, but there's not a lot of homes. And you're going to have to negotiate like crazy just to get an offer accepted.
Correct.
So you're dealing with that. So when I hear consistency, it's like, hey, consistently make your phone calls.
Yeah.
Post online every single day. Pick up the phone and call 10 people who don't know you to introduce yourself.
Yeah. And that's the part that I actually didn't do. I didn't just call random people. I think for me, it was just more like getting to say, hey, I'm now an agent. And this is, people were just trusting me because they knew me. I put the connection of being Disney. I brought my customer service from what I learned at Disney into my business. And I think that's what kind of set me apart as well when I started in real estate.
So could you say that one of the things that you did early on that you would recommend is you worked your circle of influence?
Yes, 100%. That's really, honestly, my whole business is just referrals and my sphere of influence, for sure.
So primarily word of mouth, but you do a really good job today, at least, of showing up online.
Yes, I try to.
Like on Instagram, you have a good website, but that's not something you did early on then.
No.
Okay.
No.
So you're 5 years in, and now you're like, hey, I'm trying to dominate social. I'm trying to get the right website, maybe start getting some web traffic to pull some leads online.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, it was, hey, I know how to treat people. My degree's in hospitality.
Yeah.
I worked 10 years for the Mouse. Like, let me take this experience and leverage it to take great care of everyone who already knows me.
Correct.
But what you did have to do is make sure those people who know you know what you do for a living.
Correct. And that was the biggest challenge too, because people just knew me as the Disney girl. They didn't know me as the real estate girl. So that transition was a little difficult.
Very cool. So now that you're a realtor with, so many transactions under your belt, you have your own brokerage, you have realtors who actually work for you. I'm a lender.
Yeah.
Okay. What is one thing that if you could just grab every lender by their neck and you could just like squeeze and shake them a little bit and say, if you just did this, you would be so much more successful.
Yes.
What's that one thing?
Communication.
Communication. What does communication look like to you as a broker owner?
Yeah.
Right? You have your boutique real estate brokerage in Orlando, Florida, top 20 market. When you say communication, like give me some examples of what you want.
I just want a response back. It's simple. Like once I send you an email, I expect at least a response. It doesn't need to be 24 hours.
24 hours,
Yeah.
not 24 minutes.
Not 24 minutes. Just give me a response. When I have to follow, because I'm one of those people that color coordinate my emails. So I have like a going to-do list and everything is organized. So when I see that I haven't received a response for you in like 24 to 48 hours, I'm going to follow up. And it's going to be a piggyback. I just want a response back.
That's it.
That's it.
Like, it's that simple.
And simple. And
Okay.
just communicate as to where you are in the process.
Like on a scale of 1 to 10, like 1 is like, I could care less. 10's like, it's the most important thing. Like a lender's rates or a lender's loan programs. How would you rate your desire, like your ability to care about that? Is it a 10 or is it a 1? Or let's go with rates. On a scale of 1 to 10, how important are the lender's rates to you as a realtor?
As a realtor, I would say like a 1.
Like you don't care.
I don't care what the rates are.
Like don't rip my client off. Do a
Correct.
great job, but your rates are your rates. My commission is my commission.
Correct.
Okay, when it comes to the lender's loan programs on a scale of 1 to 10, 10's like, oh my God, they have and they know every loan program under the sun.
Yeah.
1 is like, I don't even know what loan programs are, but I know if I refer someone
Yeah.
that they'll have the right loan program for them.
Yeah, I would say probably like a 9 or a 10. It's
Okay.
very that is very important.
Okay,
Just
so you want to know that they have
options.
options.
Yes, 100%. Just
Okay.
because every customer that we talk to, their situations, their finances, their setup is very different and very unique. So when you have loan officers that think outside the box and think creatively, that's where you get a 10 out of 10 on my book.
Okay, and then my last question for our lenders out there that are tuning in. You know, you do listings, you do buy sides. Not every client of yours uses your husband as their loan officer.
That's true.
Right? You'd probably like it if they did because he communicates really well.
He sure does.
And
We have an in-house lender at my house.
Correct. Yeah, almost 2 in-house.
Exactly.
Yeah. He's in the gym working out, which he does every morning at 4:30.
He does.
And Yaritza's coming out yelling at him, "Did that appraisal come back in?" He's like, "Leave me alone. I'm doing my squats."
He must be talking to you all the time then, because that's exactly what happened.
Well, I know if I want to get a hold of him, I call him early in the morning because
Yeah.
we're both early morning people.
Yeah.
If I try to get him later in the afternoon, he's doing youth sports, which is where we're going to transition to in a second.
Yeah.
But I do want to know, not including, so let's exclude your husband.
Okay.
What is something a lender has done for you that has absolutely floored you in a positive way? You're like, oh my God, he or she's awesome because they did something that stood out.
That's a good question. Just because most of the lender I do work with is my husband. I don't work with a lot of outside lenders. But I would say the one thing that I would say that would floor me is to like just provide some kind of transparency as to where we are in the transaction. Like not every lender opens that, that side of things to say, hey, we are clear to close, or hey, this is where we are in the appraisal. Hey, like that hasn't really been communicated. Just having that, that open line, I think is so important, having that trust.
Yeah, because I figured like on your listings, your husband's
yeah.
not doing those.
No,
right?
no.
I mean, obviously, if you have a home buyer, there's a good chance because you both do a phenomenal job of working your circle of influence.
Yeah.
There's a good chance the home buyer already knows you and they already know Patrick.
That's different.
Therefore, they're working with you. But on your listings, like you don't get to choose the
You don't
lender.
know what's on the other side.
And it's funny. We actually had someone that stood out to you on this show because she's local.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, Ashley Bedford
Yeah.
was once the lender on one of your listings because I think you went and raved to your husband about how amazing she was.
Yeah.
And then he came in the office. He goes, "Do you know this loan officer is?" I go, "No." He's like, "Well, Yaritza freaking loves her."
Loved her,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's like, "I need to step up my game or else I'm going to lose my own wife's business to her." But you know what it was? It was communication.
It was.
And she's now a fan of the show. She's now a friend of mine.
Yeah.
She's an awesome human being. And yes, if you ask Ashley, how did she do $80+ million? She over communicates.
Yeah.
You ask Yaritza, what do you need out of a lender? Just communicate,
Yeah.
right? It's not the rates, it's the communication.
Yeah.
But it would be the loan products. We have to have decent loan product selection. Last question.
Yeah.
Regarding like being a realtor, working with loan officers. How often do loan officers try to like hit on you or solicit you to like want to meet, take you to coffee, and want to build a relationship?
All the time.
Really?
All the time.
That makes me so happy.
I do. Yeah, they're doing their thing.
They're doing their
hustling.
job.
Yes,
Yes.
they're doing they really. And there's also a certain few that will be consistent. Like they'll be like in my inbox, they'll be like, "Hey, just checking in," or "Hey, I have these loan options available. Are you interested?" So
imagine your husband fell off a cliff and died on impact. Okay, so we get through the boohoo moment. moments.
Yes.
We're sad. We cry. We console the kids. But you know what? Life goes on.
Yeah.
So now your husband's not in the picture.
Yeah.
What would a lender have to do to get you to meet with them?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would just say, hey, let's grab some lunch and let's chat with what I have to offer and where I am, set myself different from everyone else, because like lenders, there's realtors and there's thousands of us, right? But we're not all built the same.
Wow. So you're that approachable.
Yeah.
Like, don't go hitting on Yaritza right now.
No,
She's
please don't.
happily married to a top producing loan officer
Yes.
who runs his own branch.
Yeah.
But you do represent, tens of thousands of realtors who are being solicited.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how do I break through the noise? How do I stand out as a loan officer?
Yeah.
Like, is it coffee? Is it lunch? Is it show up unannounced? Is it figure out that you have kids that are into youth sports and I send something youth sports related to you as a way to catch your attention?
Yeah.
Or is it come recommended by someone who already works in my brokerage?
Yeah.
And you have a better chance?
Yeah. Word of mouth is huge. And I also think just being relatable and not being so salesy.
Yeah.
That's a good tip of advice.
So do you and be you.
Yeah.
And yes, if you can find some kind of a triangle of trust, it's why we coach it over at TLOP. It's like, yes, that's the best way in. Be authentically you and try to find someone who already knows us to make a warm intro.
Yeah.
All right. So
exactly it.
Back half of the show, you have a podcast.
I do.
But your podcast isn't about real estate.
It's not.
It's not about mortgage. Your podcast is built specifically to help sports moms.
Yes.
Not sports dads.
No, I guess we have to, but It's more geared to the mamas.
How long have you been doing this for?
So me and my business partner, Rachel, we've been doing the podcast for about a year. We just celebrated our 1-year anniversary.
And what was the catalyst? Like what promoted both of you, or not promoted you to do it, but what gave you the encouragement to want to start your own podcast, and especially one around being sports moms?
Yeah. So Rachel and I met doing all-star baseball. And for us, it was more of, there was just so much information that we were kind of thrown at when we decided we want our kids to play more in a competitive level. So we decided there is an opportunity here to really create a community for moms, to have a place where they can ask the questions. We can provide resources. We can connect them with professionals that are experts in those specific areas, and just kind of create a community of moms. I feel like that's so necessary, really, in the season of life that we're in.
Are you having fun?
Having a blast.
You're having a blast.
Yeah.
What does it look like if I can find you on YouTube?
Yeah.
I can find you on Spotify and Apple?
Apple.
And the name of the show is called what again?
The Sports Mom Playbook.
The Sports Mom Playbook.
Yeah.
What's the most fun you've had doing the Sports Mom Playbook, in the past year?
I think our funnest thing is the podcast. We have so many cool guests that come about. We just had Rob from Rock'em Socks. He was wonderful. Are you familiar with Rock'em Socks?
I'm familiar with Rock'em, yes.
Yeah, so he was just on our podcast. He's here locally as well in Orlando, and just really meeting all these fun guests that are really experts in their area and just sharing their experience, I think has really opened our eyes to see really the impact of youth sports to such a level that I don't think we were prepared for.
Didn't you have Patrick was telling me this. Didn't you have one of your Instagram posts go viral?
We did. I did.
1 or 2 now?
I think it was about 3 right now. One of them was surpassed.
You've had 3 go viral?
3,
I've
pretty
had
much.
0 go viral in 5 years.
Dio.
I need to talk to my team about that.
Listen, y'all.
Holy cow. Okay, so you had 3. What does viral look like? Millions of views?
Yeah, over millions of views. Yeah.
Wow.
One of them was we were doing a specific episode of Back to School, and it was the Pottery Barn backpack episode, or it was that topic, that reel, that little clip that our producer snapped out, and we just were like, hey, back to school, let's just throw it out there. It got so many views, so many comments. I am the worst person in the world because I am not caring about the environment, or how could I buy backpacks and water bottles and lunch boxes.
You had haters.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
I had a lot of haters. So
okay.
I think that's also what kind of drove the interaction of the algorithm. But yeah.
So you were telling me more people listen to you all on Spotify and Apple than they do on YouTube.
They do. Yeah. We have more listeners than viewers.
Yeah. I think that's pretty similar. When people are like, oh, wow, you have 25,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is what we have at TLOP now.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but I think we have 2 to 3 times that are listening that don't go to the YouTube channel. Although every episode, I'm like, y'all, please go to the YouTube channel and click subscribe.
Yeah.
Plus, on my YouTube channel, I give even more content.
Yeah.
YouTube makes it easy to drop a ton of additional content, where on Spotify and Apple, I feel like if it's not true podcast form, like a training video or a coaching video, it's kind of hard
for
to
sure.
throw that up there. But you are finding something similar. What's your end goal with your podcast? Like, are you thinking one day you go viral and it's like you, Joe Rogan, and T-Lop are all in the top 3?
Listen, that will happen one day.
Manifest it, girlfriend.
We're doing it. It's going to happen. The podcast for Rachel and I, it's really basically like the device that we wanted to do so people can get to know us. I feel like as sports moms here locally, we didn't want to just create a community and people are like, who are you? So for us, the podcast is really the way that people can relate to us. We can be a brand because we also have an online boutique aspect of our business as well. So it's a whole kind of, the podcast ties it all together.
Yeah,
essentially.
it's like an ecosystem.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's also a support group.
Yes.
I mean, for anyone who knows, like people who are too young and you don't have kids yet, maybe you are a product of and when I say youth sports, I'm really thinking travel.
Yeah.
Like I know how much time you and Patrick spend on the softball field and the baseball field.
Yes.
Right? It's your life.
It is life.
And I had a season where that was my life as well. We did it with tackle football. We did it with travel baseball. We did it with dance with my daughter. And then I live in an area that, look, Oviedo, Florida, people live there for the community and for the school system.
Yeah.
And when you live there, you can get caught up in the hype of travel this and travel that. And all of a sudden, kids are at the local supermarket begging for money so my family can pay for their family to go on vacation because mom and dad signed them up to go to Cooperstown and play in a baseball tournament.
Yeah.
I'm like, how come I don't go with a bucket and beg for money so I can go out to Wyoming and go horseback riding?
Yeah.
But that's for a whole nother maybe episode. And something that I am going to do, speaking of other episodes, the cost of travel sports. If you were to guess, because your show is more of a community for other families and other women to find the best resources, but I think also to navigate, like it's very time consuming. Travel sports, and correct me if I'm wrong here, becomes your family's vacation.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we just were at Vero Beach, Disney 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but you weren't on a Royal Caribbean cruise.
No.
And you weren't at the Grand Canyon.
No, 90% of that was on the field.
You're on the field.
10% was at the beach.
Yes. And that's pretty normal, at least in where we live.
Yeah.
And I have friends in Idaho and friends in Texas and friends in Maryland and very similar. And it's, look, cool memories. However, I find too many people are in it for the wrong reasons. And the number of times, because, I'm a whole decade older than you and Patrick, therefore my kids are a whole decade older, right? So mine are 20 and 17, yours are 7 and 10.
Yeah.
And I lived it, and I have friends that I coached their kids. We still hang out, and they've said to me things like, I can't believe so-and-so quit playing. All that money I spent for him to play that sport, and they're not going to go to college?
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa. Did no one tell you? Like, you have a 1% to 2% chance of playing in college. And even if you play in college, you ain't getting a full ride 90% of the time.
Yeah.
Regardless of sport. And if you were paying all that money and you didn't have that money, that's on you, homie.
Yeah.
Like, that's on you. And I'm hoping that with your show, you can be not just a place for moms to empathize and to laugh, but maybe to also get some of that tough love.
Yeah.
And if not, I'm going to go ahead and tease this. The first episode of the DO show drops the Monday after our episode, right? So you and I are going to drop ours on October 15th. On October 20th, the first, like episode 1, episode 0 was a teaser. That one dropped on October 13th. On October 20th, I'm doing an entire show where I basically talk about how I can guarantee your kid a full ride to a state university. However, it's more than likely going to mean paring back the amount of time and money you spend on travel sports.
Interesting.
Yes, we're going to introduce you to a thing called a 529.
Okay.
And we're going to show you how compound interest works on that. So if you like the topics of investing and having enough money for college tuition and travel sports, or maybe you just want to come and hear me potentially bash travel sports.
Now, Dustin.
I'm not going to be bashing because I'm a product of it. I already said my daughter did competitive dance. My son did travel baseball as well as pretty competitive tackle football where I bought Rock'em socks every year for the entire team because I wanted the kids to be swagged out. But yeah, we're going to talk about that. But if people wanted to follow you or follow your podcast, let's throw out some handles. How would you connect with Yaritza Cheyenne, the realtor
Yeah.
at Bloom Home Group. Let's start there.
Yeah. So my website is bloomhomegroup.com. My handle is Bloom Home Group. So it's pretty simple. And then for my podcast, we have the sportsmomplaybook.com, and then you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple. And then our handle on Instagram is the official Sports Mom MVP.
Love it. And then one last question.
Yeah, go for it.
What is one piece of advice that you're making sure that you raise your children knowing that maybe you had to learn the hard way? Because maybe it wasn't taught to you either in school or at home.
Yeah.
But now that you've learned it as an adult, you make sure both your kids know this one piece of advice.
The piece of advice is stand on business and be honest.
Wow. Stand on business.
Stand on business.
I love that
Be
one.
honest. Yeah.
Awesome. So if y'all want to stand on business, you got to make sure you're being honest. Make sure you're following my girl Yaritza. Follow her podcast, but also, check out Bloom Home Group as well. Yaritza, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Y'all, I'm Dustin Owen. You can find me all over LinkedIn. First name Dustin, last name Owen. Instagram is at the Loan Officer Podcast. If you're tuning in on Spotify or Apple, please make sure you do a 5-star review and you share this episode with at least one person that would benefit. If you love watching and not just listening, you got to go to our website. And you also have to go to our YouTube channel. Website is tloponline.com. YouTube channel is at TLOP Entertainment. Go ahead and click subscribe. And that's all the time we have for you today. But we do look forward to catching you on the next episode. Peace.
Bye.